Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. I am your host, Larry Leese. On today's episode, we're going to dive into the latest box office news and headlines from around the industry. But first, we'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Good Ranchers. If you're anything like me, you know that good quality meat makes all the difference in your home cooked meals. That's why I love Good Ranchers. They deliver 100% American premium meat straight to my doorstep. Since I started using them, my barbecues have gone from great to phenomenal. If you're a foodie or just like a good steak, check out Good Ranchers. It's a game changer for meal times. You can use the link in the description and help support the channel. Before we dive into the box office numbers, we'd like to remind you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the Cinema Gold Show. As always, leave a comment in the comment section below on the topics we covered. Is there something we covered that you disagree with, or is there something we should have covered? Let us know. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Indiana Jones had a short-lived box office reign. Disney's action-adventure Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny dropped to the number 2 spot in its second weekend of release, earning $26.5 million from 4,600 North American theaters. It was dethroned by Sony's horror thriller Insidious, The Red Door, which beat expectations with its $32.6 million debut. Ticket sales for Indiana Jones, the fifth and final installment to star Harrison Ford's swashbuckling adventurer, declined by 56% from its $60 million opening weekend, continuing the theatrical misfortunes for the nearly $300 million budgeted movie. Dial of Destiny added $31.8 million at the international box office, bringing worldwide ticket sales to $247.9 million. It has a long and winding journey to get out of the red, at least in its box office run. The fifth Insidious movie cost just $16 million to make, so it's already reaping big rewards in its box office run. That improves on the start of its predecessor, 2018's The Last Key, which opened at $29 million and ended its run with 67 domestically and 167 million globally. It also marks the second best debut of the franchise, behind 2013's Insidious Chapter 2 with 40 million. The Red Door also connected at the international box office with 31.4 million, ranking as the biggest overseas opening for a horror movie in pandemic times. At current exchange rates, Sony claims the film is tracking 27% ahead of Insidious The Last Key, as well as 58% ahead of Evil Dead Rise, and 30% ahead of Scream 6, two other recent horror releases. So far, Insidious 5 has generated $64 million worldwide. Screen Gems Stage 6 Films and Blumhouse produced The Red Door, which is positioned as the conclusion to the horror franchise, one that brings back original cast members Patrick Wilson, Ty Simpkins, Andrew Astor, and Rose. Audiences turned out in force, but they weren't all that kind. The horror entry landed a C+ cinema score and holds at 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. The weekend's other major new release, Lionsgate's raunchy comedy Joyride, opened in 6th place with a tepid $5.85 million from 2,820 locations, falling short of expectations. Crazy Rich Asians co-screenwriter Adele Lim directed the film in her feature debut. Ashley Park, Sherry Cola, and Sabrina Wu play 4 friends who embark on a trip to help one member of their group find her birth mother. Critics were high on the movie, but ticket buyers were mixed, giving the film a B- cinema score. Joyride landed just ahead of another raunchy R-rated comedy, Jennifer Lawrence's No Hard Feelings, which took the number 7 spot. The film added $5.25 million from a little over 2,600 theaters, marking a small 33% drop from its prior outing. After 3 weeks on the big screen, No Hard Feelings has grossed $40.4 million in North America and $67 million worldwide. The only trouble is that Sony Pictures spent roughly $45 million to produce the film, so it'll have to keep playing throughout the summer to justify that price tag. In 3rd place, Sound of Freedom, faith-based film about child sex trafficking, is shaping up to be an unlikely box office success. It has generated $17 million from 2,850 theaters over the weekend and $39 million since opening on July 4th. Those ticket sales are a reminder of the power of religious audiences who helped propel the spring's low-budget drama Jesus Revolution, starring Kelsey Grammer, to $53 million globally. Angel Studios, a streaming and distribution company, backed the $15 million budgeted drama, based on the true story of Tim Ballard, played by Jim Caviezel, former government agent who quit his job to rescue children from global sex traffickers. Enthusiastic opening weekend crowds bestowed the film an A-plus cinema score, the only movie playing in theaters right now with that high of a grade. Pixar's Elemental landed in fourth place with $9.6 million from 3,400 North American locations, a decline of just 22% from the weekend prior. With this weekend's sales, and the family film has crossed $109.2 million at the domestic box office and $251.9 million globally. It's a respectable hold from its lackluster debut. However, Elemental cost $200 million, so it has a long way to go to break even in its theatrical run. Sony's animated sequel, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, rounded out the top five, generating $8 million from 3,023 venues in its sixth weekend of release. So far, the film has generated a stellar $357.6 million at the domestic box office and $641 million globally. In North America, Spider-Verse has ever so slightly passed Disney's comic book adventures Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to become the highest grossing release of the summer. That positioning could change in the next few weeks as Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, Greta Gerwig's Barbie, and Christopher Nolan's atomic bomb drama Oppenheimer gear up to release on the big screen. This is all good news for movie theaters who are anticipating very crowded multiplexes in the coming weeks. And now on to our next topic. Hugh Jackman suits up in the classic X-Men Wolverine costume in Deadpool 3, and we received our first look. Hugh Jackman will team up with Ryan Reynolds once again for their MCU debuts. Don Levy has shared the first official look at Hugh Jackman, reprising his role as Wolverine, in a brand new image straight from the set of Deadpool 3. The sequel will mark the first instance of the actor reprising the iconic Marvel role since the release of James Mangold's Logan back in 2017. Ryan Reynolds is back playing the vigilante that can't take anything seriously in an adventure that promises the big amounts of action and humor the character is known for. Hugh Jackman can be seen wearing the yellow costume Logan has worn in the comics for decades, even if the outfit has never been seen in a live-action film. Through his official Instagram account, the filmmaker shared with viewers his excitement for reuniting Jackman and Reynolds on the big screen. After years of the actors teasing a possible collaboration, while the plot of the upcoming Deadpool movie is being safely stored in a vault inside Kevin Feige's office, you might have to deal with different Earths due to the fact that Jackman's Wolverine has been introduced as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With recent events establishing that anything can happen within the multiverse, the fact that Logan is back can't come as much of a surprise. While Wolverine coming back to show his claws in the MCU for the first time can be exciting for viewers, the fact that Jennifer Garner is returning to play Elektra for the first time in 20 years has been the most surprising announcement regarding the third Deadpool movie so far. The role was introduced in Daredevil, where Ben Affleck suited up as Matt Murdock to protect the innocent people of New York City from enemies that were too big for them to handle on their own. It's unclear if Affleck will reprise his role in next summer's film, or if Gardner will be the only cast member reprising her role. Ever since Spider-Man No Way Home showed the characters of the MCU messing with the laws of the multiverse, the saga has focused on showing the consequences traveling through multiple dimensions as on the fabric of reality. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness continued the trend, while other projects from Kevin Feige's successful project will also deal with the multiple timelines. It appears that everything is leading up to Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, the next crossover set to reunite Earth's mightiest heroes for the biggest adventure yet. Let us know your thoughts on Deadpool 3 in the comments section below. And give us your take on what you think the movie will be about. And now on to our next topic. First trailer for Ridley Scott's historical epic Napoleon has arrived. We're going to talk about it. Sony and Apple have released the first trailer for Napoleon, the long-awaited passion project from legendary director Ridley Scott, which reunites him with Joaquin Phoenix. Phoenix takes on the role of French conqueror Napoleon Bonaparte, and it promises to be an absolute epic, as one would expect from a director of Scott's caliber. The movie was due to be released exclusively on the streamer before it switched to theatrical. The film's trailer shows Phoenix's Napoleon through the years, riding through the ranks, and the scale of the battle scenes on display are nothing short of awe-inspiring. Napoleon states he is destined for greatness, but that those in power see him as a weapon. So he decides to take matters into his own hands and take the throne of France for himself. Originally planned for release on Apple TV+, the film later secured a theatrical premiere, courtesy of Sony Pictures. Apple Studios, responsible for producing the movie, will collaborate with Sony Pictures to bring it to the big screen. It's fitting for a film this magnitude. However, Napoleon is not the only Apple production to follow the traditional theatrical model. Or theatrical release model, I should say. Apple Studios has already announced its intention to release future films in cinemas, starting with Killers of the Flower Moon this October. There's nothing quite like experiencing a historical epic on the grand scale of a cinema screen. With Napoleon scheduled to debut during the holiday season, audiences won't have to wait long to witness Phoenix's portrayal of the French Emperor. Excuse me. Several major stars are involved in Napoleon, including Academy Award nominee Vanessa Kirby is playing the role of Empress Josephine, the wife of Napoleon. Other actors involved include Rupert Everett and Ian McNeice, who have currently been cast in undisclosed roles. Kirby previously said her joy and pleasure at working alongside Scott and Phoenix, quote, "It's epic. Joaquin is extraordinary. It's Ridley's finest historical biopic. Really, it's got incredible battles and an amazing character study like Joaquin does. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to do it. I loved it." Let us know your thoughts on these topics we covered in the comments section below. Give us your take on Napoleon. Are you planning on watching it? Should it have stayed in streaming, or is it worth seeing in theaters? Let us know. And as always, give us a thumbs up if you like our video, subscribe to the channel, the bell notification button to be notified of future videos. And next up, Harry Styles is just the latest singer to have an object thrown at him mid-concert, following incidents involving Pink, Phoebe Rexa, and several others. Even though streaming music services have made it easier than ever to marathon our favorite artists' albums and B-sides, still nothing can quite compare to watching the songs performed live. Thousands of Harry Styles fans can no doubt attest to that notion as of late, specifically those attending his European shows that are serving as the closeout dates for his COVID-delayed Love on Tour that began back in 2021. But as it's happening, and an increased number of recent live performances for artists such as Pink, the good times were marred by someone throwing an object onto the stage and connecting with Styles' face. The latest example of this ignorant and needs to stop immediately trend of hurling objects at musicians happened on the night of Saturday, July 8th, as Harry Styles was in the middle of performing for an audience in Vienna, Austria. As he was crossing the stage and waving to screaming fans, an as yet unidentified object hit him directly in the face. It clearly caused him a bit of a sudden pain, as it hit him in the cheek and possibly in the eye. If it was something relatively light, like a packet of tissues, that's one thing, but anything zinged hard enough to pop him in the face was likely a bit heavier and more potentially harmful. While the impact was enough to stop Styles in his tracks, wincing and bending over while making sure he wasn't more seriously injured, he was thankfully fine enough to continue the rest of the show. It's unclear if he addressed the issue at all on or off the stage, but he probably didn't, because he's that kind of a nice guy. But that doesn't mean such generosity should be taken advantage of by using his face and body as target practice. Already on this tour, Harry Styles has had chicken nuggets thrown at him, which he amusingly dodged and commented on, and was also hit in the eye with Skittles, which he did address after the fact by asking fans not to throw them. While it's true that Styles' fans have long thrown things onto the stage during his concert, from pride flags to hats to feather boas, there's a difference when things are being lobbed directly at the person. Beyond Styles and Pink, other artists that have struggled with fans throwing things at them on stage include rappers Drake, singer-songwriters Ava Max, Steve Lacy, and Kelsey Ballerini, and Pink dealt with some interesting if less directly injurious situations when one fan threw her mother's cremated ashes onto the stage, while another fan handed her a big cheese wheel. But let's not let a few less dangerous moments make it seem fun to continue throwing unwarranted objects at musicians, whether they're performing on stage or not. All that said, how much are we thinking that Taylor Swift will find a way to set up a fake fan throwing something on stage incident during the ongoing Eras tour that will actually be a huge speculation-sparking reference to something from the upcoming release of Reputation, Taylor's version? Let us know your thoughts on these topics or topics we should cover in the future. And as always, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you want to support the channel, go ahead and buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.